But before I get another bait out, the scientists call me over to take a look at the surprise they've pulled in. It's a hammerhead shark. Well, actually, this one is called a winghead. I mean, look at the width of that head. I mean, it is like some kind of underwater aircraft in a way. I've not caught a hammerhead before. So, I mean, this is impressive. Very strange looking beast. But I think what this really brings home is that the estuary here is just full of predators. Another marine hunter following in the salty tides. But the more predators there are down there, the lower my chances of hooking the one I'm after. Oh, massive bubbles over there. I think that was, no, that was it or another fish. Yes, 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 yes. Could this be the one? I'm going to come over there. I need to come there. I need to come there. At this angle, the fish will snag my line. With no room to maneuver, I have to get into the lake. This is a hell of a fish if this is hooked in the mouth. I'm not sure if I'm playing the fish or it's playing me. After a full half hour, finally it begins to tire. Gosh. Incredible fish. This monster is a catfish, but the wrong one. Mekong giant catfish. It's still fighting me. It's still fighting me, this fish. Mekong giant catfish. This fish is known to grow over 600 pounds. Nearly 650 pounds is the biggest one, authenticated. But this one actually rose and took a piece of maize dangling under a float. Took something about the size of my fingernail. Can you imagine? Turned into a fish like this. Incredible, strong fish. After all this intense fishing, catching everything but the sereng, it's dawning on me that by coming to Thailand, all I've done is run away from my problem. I'll be using the longest lines I've ever fished with, so thick nylon monofilament is out. It would create too much drag in the current and the reel would have to be enormous. Instead, I'm using woven braid. It's very fine and very strong, but it does have a fatal flaw.
We use these long mono traces for protection of the braid.
Yeah.
And the skin is like very rough sandpaper.
So if the skin touches that, then it just goes, doesn't it?
Immediately.
I get to work baiting the lines, while Frederick checks our position with first mate Willem. But there's already a problem.
We've actually drifted out of position. The anchor has dragged. So we're going through the whole process again.
It's taken an hour of manoeuvring, but half a mile of anchor line now has to come in before the boat's repositioned and it's thrown out again.
We've baited up the lines, and what we're going to do now is just check that we're not drifting, and then we'll just put them all down. If we're lucky, we'll stay here. We won't have to re-anchor.
My lines are descending into a vast hidden landscape, like a submerged Grand Canyon. But Frederick's sonar can't reveal any sharks prowling down there. They're too deep, and their bodies are too dense to be distinguished from the bottom of the abyss in which they're hunting.
So we've got all the line's out now. It's just a question of waiting.
If a shark does take the bait, the only clue will be a movement of the rod top that doesn't fit with the movement of the boat. But there's no predicting when one might strike. After 2 hours, we bring all the lines up to check the baits. Between the 4 rods, that's almost 1.5 miles of line, carrying 20 pounds of metal weights, reeled in by hand. My whole arm is burning.
Right, that's why we have to check the baits periodically, because they just get chewed by smaller fish. There's a possibility a shark could take that, but I mean, that's not a very effective, appetizing bait. So that's why I spent 25 minutes bringing them up to have a look.
All the hooks have to be rebaited and the lines reset 2,000 feet below. With every line finely tuned, the wait begins again.
That's interesting. It's sort of... Oh, wait a minute. See that?
Is there a movement?
Yeah, that's sort of pulling.
Yeah. Put on the harness.
Oh, see, holding it?
Yeah.
The harness should stop the rod being wrenched from my hands by a heavyweight giant.
There is definitely something there.
Yeah, there is.
And it feels like it weighs a ton.
Start reeling the other one.
The other lines have to come up before I can bring in the beast on the end of mine. If they don't, the fish could become tangled and trapped beneath the boat.
Think it might? That's a very big skate, isn't it?
That is a Norwegian skate.
It's a Norwegian skate.
This bizarre creature of the fjord floor was first described here in Trondheim. It's an extremely rare sight at the surface. The fantastical imagination of the Nordic map makers now seems quite tame compared with the reality of what's down there.
It's a very impressive looking animal, very strange looking animal, but very rare as well. Apparently Frederick's saying only 4 of these caught on rod and line before. So we've got to remember, we've got to take a tissue sample. These things don't come to the light very often at all.
Frederick works with a scientist at Tromsø University who collects all the data from his catches of sharks and skates.
It's the right colour for the fish that I want. The skin underneath certainly has got that rough feel, but it's completely the wrong shape. Skates are flattened sharks, and this is a very strange looking skate, but it's still not the fish I'm looking for.
We have to tag it and measure it as quickly as possible.
125 across.
125 across.
4 foot across by nearly 6 foot nose to tail. Sharks and skates are among the few fish that can survive being brought up from such depths. They haven't evolved the gas-filled swim bladders of other fish that can rupture on the way up.
And that thing is a bit like an alien, a real weird looking thing, living in a weird environment. Something on there. No sign of any crushing that a stingray might have done.
I'm running out of ideas and luck. Another disappointing night is coming to an end when my investigation is given a lifeline.
Yeah, well, my bait's gone, but there's a fisherman out in the middle of the river here. I can just see his light, and he's apparently got a ray. Might just meet up with him and see exactly what he's got. Understand? Yeah, second. Oh, yeah. Well, here we go. It's a stingray. It's a small one. No tail. He's saying that probably when this was a baby, piranhas chewed the tail off. The stingray was an accidental catch. I'm just going to go and see what else he's got.
Unlike me, this local fisherman has had a successful night.
Corvina, they call these. There's some catfish as well. That is a strange looking thing. That's really strange. Maybe just here.
I position a bait in the middle of the pool, then pay the line back to the rock.
moments when the fish takes, particularly a big fish, it can go to just complete chaos in a fraction of a second. If you don't do everything right, that's when you can get human error.
A lifetime of observing and refining my skills has brought me to this place. The trap is set.
I'm bringing about 150 yards of line here.
It's a truly bizarre-looking fish, known as a diwala.
It's just so quiet at the moment. I'd actually rather not be catching, to be honest. I want the bait to sit there until a laulau comes along. What it does mean, though, is I've got to get the bait back out there again, get the boat out. Oh.
It's just me, my guide Johnny, and out there somewhere, a very big fish.
I'm putting into practice the things I've learnt, not just from the fishing captivity, but also the whole business about locating the fish, spotting them, patience, gradually working close so that you're in a position of getting one on the line.
With the water so low in this lake, oxygen levels are depleted. The Arapaima's air-breathing physiology is both its strength and its weakness. It came into existence millions of years before there were hunters like me around, scanning the water surface for that telltale clue.
There's some bubbles actually just coming up in the middle, more or less where my bait is, and that is very likely to be an Arapaima down there on the bottom, grubbing around in the mud. It's very close to my bait. Something took it, but then let go. Oi. That's a fish on. Oh, that's a sizable old Tambaqui. Hey, strong fish. Oh, Tambaqui. Big old Tambaqui.
This Tambaqui is not the fish I'm after, but it's still quite a catch.
This is a relative of the piranha, but instead of having huge incisors, it's got these enormous grinding teeth on the jaw. The closest thing in nature to the teeth of a Tambaqui is the teeth of a horse. Normally, this thing feeds on a diet of pure sort of Brazil nuts and other seeds. Very, very good flesh, very prized for its eating, but also really, really strong. One of the most powerful fish, pound for pound, that there is anywhere. Still lots of energy left in it.
Perhaps it's no coincidence that the rivers here are also home to another gigantic fish. Growing up to 9 feet long and weighing over 600 pounds, the Mekong giant catfish is a Class A monster. Conceivably, the stingray's immense size could be a defense strategy. To get a close-up look at a giant Mekong, I've come to a stocked fishing lake. These animals are all but extinct in the wild.
Yeah, this is a strong fish. Got the line great against there.
This one's giving me the runaround.
Huge tail on that.
But it's probably just a small one.
Very powerful, sort of throbbing fight. You can almost feel the beats of the tail. a Mekong catfish.
My catch is only 1/10 the size of what they can reach. Nonetheless, I can see it's no ordinary catfish.
Being a catfish, it's got no scales, but what's interesting as well, although it's a catfish, it hasn't got feelers, it hasn't got barbels. And the other thing that's actually interesting here is there's no teeth in there. There's not even anything approaching a sort of one of these raspy pads in there. Although this does grow very big, I mean, well over 600 pounds, it's not really a predator. This thing's a vegetarian, it's a gentle giant. If I'm looking down from here, I can't see any eyes. The eyes are actually on the underside of the head there, very close to the corner of the mouth. And that's something that just points to it being a bottom feeder, just sort of rooting around vegetable matter on the bottom.
So this gummy oddball isn't a killer, which leaves me still wondering why the stingrays here have evolved into such giants.
Something on here. It's coming fairly easily. I can see something on the surface. It's coming towards me. I can't see what it is very clearly. That's an armoured catfish, right in the end of the tail. Aguento honores.
This is the first fish I've found in these waters that isn't heavily armed. Instead, it has serious protection.
I'm being a little bit careful where I hold this. I'm gripping it by the mouth because that's one of the few safe places to hold this fish. It's got sharp spines here, here. These spines are obviously for defense. It's just to stop larger fish from making a meal of them, or to deter larger fish. It's almost like a saw blade down the side. Inside the mouth, though, is completely soft. I can't feel any teeth, I can't feel any pads. I'm guessing this is not a predator.
I imagine it usually feeds on whatever it can suck up off the riverbed, but it seems the murky depths must be a pretty hostile environment.
Just looking at the defences on this, the fact that a fish this size needs defences, I'm wondering what else could be down there that possibly feeds on this.
The buzzsaw killer has the most elaborate dentition I've come across. The creatures I'm hoping to drag up from the depths here are at the opposite end of the spectrum. But they still have the power to horrify. The strings of jelly-like slime are a repulsive signal of our success.
Lovely. This is pretty horrible. These are coming in just covered in slime, and here there's something moving inside. I think the only way I'm going to get those out is to put a hand in and pull. There we go. Oh. Not the most pleasant of sensations. It's quite a big haul, and they're all the same thing. They're all hagfish.
Hagfish look like giant worms, but in evolutionary terms, they're more like the most primitive vertebrates on the planet.
What I've got in my hand here, this hagfish, is actually what could be called a living fossil, because in terms of body plan, this creature has remained pretty well unchanged for something like 300 to 500 million years. There's no bone in there. The skull is just cartilage. There's no eyes, just simple light-sensitive eye spots. And the significance of that is that all extinct fish and all living fish would ultimately have come from something rather like this.
Hagfish don't have jaws, but they do have teeth to rasp away at the carcasses of dead marine animals, which they eat from the inside out while sheltering inside their corpses. But even though they lack the dentition of more advanced predators, These primitive monsters are far from defenseless. This slime that hagfish produce, what the hagfish is actually doing, it's secreting filaments of protein with little sort of mucus globules strung out along them. And when this mucus hits the water, it just bulks up incredibly. And it's pretty clearly a defense mechanism. If you are a predatory fish and you grab hold of a hagfish, if you don't let go pretty sharpish, your gills are going to be clogged up with this stuff. So this is probably why these things have survived such an incredibly long time.
Crucially for me, there is virtually no commercial fishing here. Unlike, say, the Amazon, where you've got a huge commercial fishing fleet that extracts literally tons of fish every day. So if there's one river in the world where you might hope to find a real monster lurking undisturbed in the depths, this is it.
This is the end of the line for this boat, and as we pull into a remote fishing village, I get my first sight of a Congo river monster.
Anguille. They call them eels. I'm used to eels that are about like that round and maybe 18 inches, 2 foot long. These things, you know, they're the thickness of your leg and maybe getting on for 5 foot. I'll see if we can maybe get one out and have a proper look at one.
They're just such weird looking creatures.
Right. I'm not going to put my hands in the mouth there. There's some pretty nasty looking fangs in there, and they're, you know, they look sharp. They also look quite dirty and unhygienic. I think I've got an ID on these. I think these are lungfish.
Oui.
That is because this fish actually has an air bladder which is used as a lung, so it can actually breathe out of water. And this is a fish that can bury itself underground and survive droughts.
It sort of, I think, belched out a little bit of air, and then there was took some air in and then belched out of the gills. Small eyes generally on a fish means that, you know, they don't use them much for feeding. They're probably using vibration or scent in the water more than vision to find their food. This was caught on a palm nut, so it suggests, you know, an omnivorous feeder. I mean, that mouth to me looks like it's going to take fish. I'd guess, like a lot of fish around here, you know, it's sort of opportunistic. It'll actually chomp anything that comes its way. But anyway, they call this an eel, and, you know, I have to say it's the most impressive eel that I've ever seen.
Lungfish are ancient creatures, predating all animals that walk on land. When I look at a beast like this, mami wata no longer seems such a stretch of the imagination. Yak hair is such a good material that it's used to make flies commercially, but there's nothing quite like getting it straight from the source.